Hey everybody, I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and you are on the Lifeboat. Hope everyone had a great day. You know what? I had a good one. I really did. I did some crazy stuff today. It was a lot of fun. Alan Valentine and I went and did the touristy things. You know, we did that ludicrous hike the other day to Finger Rock, which, as it turns out, is not a approved hike for people over 104 years old. So we screwed that one up as senior citizens doing the Finger Rock climb. So we thought we'd take it down a notch and did some museums type stuff, the kind of things that you do. But we actually went and looked at kind of a monument to a different time, and went out and looked at one of the shut down nuclear missile silos. And terrifying stuff, man. They have a missile in there just without the warhead, and it's 135 feet. It was just one of those days that was, I don't know, something really heavy. Maybe you had to grow up in the 80s to really have an appreciation for that. But you know, the way that they're scaring kids now with all of the new things out there that are frightening. Well, when we were kids, what they frightened us with was nuclear war. Jimbo Baggins, good to see you. Glad that you're here, in spite of the fact that she said hello to you. It shows questionable taste at best. All right, people, let me tell you what we're going to talk about today. This is one of those topics that probably benefits some people that just got here. Hello, JJ. This is one of those topics that I think probably needs to happen from time to time. And it certainly needs to happen when the boat goes through a growth spurt. And in case you just got here 15 minutes ago, we went through a very large growth spurt. In the last 7 days, we have come pretty close to doubling the size of the Lifeboat. And that's pretty heavy. You know, in the last month and a half, we most assuredly have doubled the size of the Lifeboat. And that means that there'll be growing pains and there'll be some other things. But I would like people to understand what the concept of the Lifeboat is. I would also like people to get a really good idea of where I intend to take the Lifeboat, right? It is absolutely the crew. The Lifeboat belongs to, I believe that I've heard the term lifers. Okay. So the Lifeboat belongs to you. Make no mistake. But someone's got to sit in this chair. And the person that sits in this chair kind of has to steer this thing in the direction that they think is going to benefit the most number of people. And with that in mind, I'm going to be making a couple of announcements about how I do what I do and what my plans are. So there's no ambiguity in any way, shape, or form, and that no one who just got to the Lifeboat or anybody that has been on the Lifeboat for any length of time is going to go, wonder where Tommy's taking this thing. This should make it pretty cut and dry. All right, so let's start with this. On July 31st, 2 years ago, we started the Lifeboat with a pretty simple concept. We wanted a place where people could celebrate their victories. See, all of us that have been in recovery for any length of time know the feeling of saying to somebody, hey, man, I'm 2 years sober today. And they go, oh, that's awesome. Do me a favor. My friends are going to be over. Don't mention that while they're here. You know what I mean? Because I don't know, it kind of kills the mood and everybody, you know, starts, it's just an uncomfortable thing. So, but I'm proud of you. Boy, I'm proud of you. Well, that'll take the starch out of you pretty quick. And it's something that everybody in recovery has gone through. So we wanted a place where people could come and celebrate their victories, whether that victory was 6 minutes or 25 years. We wanted the ability for somebody to come and say, you know what, right here, I can come and pump my fist in the air. And amazingly, the people around you here on the boat will also celebrate that with you, right? And it was also a place where people could come and own their past. I say all the time, if you happen to be addicted to drugs, you can't be held accountable for the things that you did, because nobody in their right mind does the things that people do on drugs, right? You don't do what's in your right mind. You do very stupid things. I robbed banks. Not very smart, right? And I got away with it, and I continued to rob more. Right? Everything I did was stupid. It was not the actions of somebody that had anything on the ball, but I did it. Right? Why? Well, because drugs make you do things that you normally wouldn't do. I take 100% responsibility for all of the things that I did when I'm on dope. The only reason that I mentioned that no one in their right mind does it is because I'm not going to take the guilt. I'm not. Guilt is an emotion that is counterproductive, especially for sobriety. I sat down and I asked myself, I did this with a pen and a piece of paper. I whipped open the journal and I started to write. And I asked myself, if that stuff wasn't in your life, and if I wasn't sticking needles in my arms, would I ever have robbed a bank? And of course, the answer is no. In fact, I had a very, very prosperous career. I made a huge amount of money. I was well compensated for what I did. I had a skill. And at one time, I was the president of a publicly traded company. Like, I had a very legit life until I didn't, until I could no longer make money legitimately. And I started breaking the law, because at that point, I was no longer in control of anything that was going on in my life. So I'm not going to feel guilty for bad decisions that I made. I'm going to own them. I don't put this off on anybody else. I went to prison because I robbed banks. I didn't go to prison because I got told on. I didn't go to prison because there was a rat. I went to prison because I robbed banks to get heroin. Right? So the idea was to have a place where you could celebrate your victories and that you could own your past. But make no mistake, while I never thought we were going to see 10,000 subscribers, never thought that there's a chance of that happening. Now we're about a week away from 10,000 subscribers. But I'll tell you this. I wanted 2 million subscribers from the day that I hit record. You hear that? For real. It wasn't the goal. Right? The goal was to help as many people as possible. But the more people that hit the subscribe button and the more people that actually watch the videos that I do, the more people that we help. That's the concept, right? That's the concept. It makes a lot of sense. The more people that I can get in here, the more people we can help. So how do you do that? Well, you draw these concentric circles, right? Get you a whiteboard and start drawing these concentric circles. And then you find places where what you do overlaps with what somebody else does. And we were really fortunate in that I was able to talk about a subject with some authority that was of benefit to Aaron and the people that growing up in Scientology. And then, as I started to do that, with the absolute intent of growing this channel, what happens is this: cut and dry. You ready for YouTube 101? If you connect with the audience on the other channel that you go on, then you're going to get about 1% of the people who see the video are going to hit subscribe. And it's etched in stone. Doesn't matter what channel you go on. It doesn't matter if there's any kind of connection, 1% are going to hit subscribe. So when we went out to California and we got 140,000 views, right, in 7 days, we didn't think 140,000 people were going to hit subscribe. Because what we do here is really different than what Aaron does. In fact, what we do here is really different than what anybody does, right? So the vast majority of people are not going to go, I don't want to have anything to do with anything that talks about recovery, right? That's a buzzkill. I am Captain Buzzkill. That's what I do. Nobody invites Captain Tommy to a party, right? I'm Commander Buzzkill. But my goal is to build this thing as big as I possibly can. Now, every single time we have an explosion, anytime we go somewhere and we get 100,000 views, which is the goal, people, right? 100,000 views would be great every single day. And we're going to get there, by the way. Doesn't mean that anybody here is going to get shoved to the back. It doesn't mean any of that. Because what we do here is very cut and dry. Now, let me explain a couple of things about the concept of the 5. I don't want you to find 5 people who are drug counselors, because we don't have 5 people who are drug counselors. We don't. I mean, now maybe we do. I know of 3. I know of 3 lovely people who are drug counselors that are associated with the boat. But that's not what I'm looking for you to find. I'm looking for you to find somebody who will pick up the phone if you are in a position that you need your 5. Now, I got news for you. That doesn't happen very often if we're doing this correct. See, we're going to teach you a bag of tricks. The very simple concept is that 2 things can't occupy the same place at the same time, which means the thought about getting high can't occupy the same spot in your brain as a thought about beautiful antiques, right? Nice vacations. You put a new thought in, the old thought has to go somewhere. It leaves. You can't think 2 thoughts at once. I know people go multitasking. Got news for you. Doesn't happen. Your brain doesn't work that way. We don't think 2 thoughts at once. We concentrate on one. We move on. Yeah, sometimes you got a little something that's nagging in the back of your head. That's not what I'm talking about. But if you can concentrate on something other than the feeling of wanting to get high, then you don't need your 5. The bag of tricks, the things that you go through. You look around the room and you go, you know what? I can't seem to change what's going on in my head. You know, I'm looking around the room, but the only thing I can think about is getting high. And no matter what I look at, nothing seems to change. Get out of the room you're in. Walk the hell outside. Open the door. Go outside. bombard your senses. Your eyes will start seeing things it wasn't looking at. Your ears will begin to hear things it was not hearing. You will smell things you weren't smelling. Capiche? Okay. Well, when all of those things come together and you're walking outside and you're going, yeah, it's just been one of those days. Oh my God, what kind of bird is that? It literally goes like that, right? This is why we get out of Dodge. We go outside. These are the tricks. If you get outside and the bird flies by and the cat is running down the street and all of the things that should be absolutely changing what you've got in the brain pan, if that doesn't work, if you don't begin to change, well, then maybe you need to call somebody in your 5. But that's the ripcord. You understand? Okay. I've heard some people speculate that the people that they're calling might only have a couple of weeks of sobriety themselves. Okay, well, a couple of things. Maybe pick some people who have a little bit more sobriety. If it's something you're worried about. But I'll tell you right now, I've seen people who have 4 days of sobriety who help somebody stay sober. You don't need answers of any kind. You need to listen. Shut up and listen. That's all we do. It's all I do. Seriously. People tell me what a great counselor I am. I'm not a counselor. I listen to what people say. That's all we're looking for in the 5 is for you to listen to somebody. Sometimes it's hard to force yourself to do something, so just says Jill Bo Baggins. It's almost impossible to. It's almost impossible to, but what's funny is it starts with baby steps, right? And if you begin to revamp your life in such a way that I'm not going to procrastinate anything in my life. I'm not going to put stuff off. Do you know why we procrastinate, people? Seriously, it's a very legitimate question. Do you know why we procrastinate? It's not laziness. That's what most people say. I put stuff off because I'm lazy. No, you don't. That's not why people put things off. Oh, you don't have to hate to tell me that, Todd. I agree with you 100%. I agree with you 100%. I agree with that. It's the reason that I think the 5 works. You don't need people who have 25 years of sobriety. You need people who say to you, when you call me, I'm not going to mention drugs. When you call me, I'm not going to say, yeah, you're right. You should go get wasted, right? That's really the bar. We're not talking about setting the bar high. Hello, Kathy. Good to see you. We're not setting the bar high, people. We just want somebody that is going to listen. Huh? And let me tell you what happens when you begin to attack things in your life. In other words, I hurt, I talk about it. I don't feel right, I talk about it. Procrastination equals fear. Thank you, Anik. We procrastinate because we're afraid. Okay. When you begin to redo your life, when you start putting the chemicals in the rear view mirror, right? And you say that I'm not doing this. I'm not living my life as a drug addict anymore, right? I'm done. Okay. Then why would you ever not paint the place, right? I mean, you're starting a new life. Throw a coat of paint on you. Change who you are. There's absolutely no reason to say, you know what I need? I need to remove heroin from my life. If I did that, I'd still be the same ass that I was. That's not what I needed to do. What I needed to do was figure out a new way to live that didn't have anything to do with opiates or chemicals of any kind. How do you do that? Well, you revamp your life, every single bit of it, from getting up in the morning. And I've heard people mock this. People mock this constantly. Oh, those kind of people that tell you to make your bed in the morning. I'll tell you what, if you don't make your bed in the morning, you're not getting life done. I swear to God, you're not. I swear to God, you're not. Go read studies on it. This is an easy thing. Very, very easy thing to look up. Are you making your bed? No. Why not? Why not? Because I'm going to start my day with failure because it just makes sense. I'm going to get up in the morning and go, not doing that, not doing that. And before your foot goes out the front door, you've started your day accepting failure. You've started your day accepting defeat. You've started your day accepting chaos and disorder. Chaos and disorder breed drug addiction. Very simple concepts. We get up, we make our beds, right? We start to make contact with people in the group. I'm not suggesting the day you get here, you go, okay, let's see. We got Goosebumps 801. We got Anik Alexander. We got CK and we got Sandy Bowers. That's 4 or 5. I'll shoot them off a message and ask them if I can call them in the middle of the night. I suggest you get to know some people here. Get to know some people. because there are people who you're going to gel with. There are people on this boat right now listening to the sound of my voice who I gel with, right? I enjoy talking to them. I enjoy texting them. I enjoy interaction. Okay, maybe they're a good choice. Maybe there's somebody that I can call if I'm having one of those days where I think to myself, you know what, right now, I would really like to get high. We're not looking for perfection, people. And we're certainly not looking for counselors. And we're certainly not looking for sponsors. There's other places that'll do that. Sponsorship, in my opinion, is not a great concept. And it very often goes awry. We've all seen the studies that they did at that University of California, where they allowed people to become prison guards, right? Students to become prison guards. And half of the class became prisoners. And it took, I think, 3 days, before they were beating the students. This study got so off the rails, it was incredible, to the point where, it was a frightening thing. But when you give somebody power over somebody, the power in the lifeboat is you're not in my kitchen. The power in the lifeboat is there's anonymity if you want it. Do you know who Anique Alexander is? Do you know if that's her name? First Jilbo I ever met would be right here. It's an unusual choice for a name. Dig it, by the way. But I'm not thinking mom came up with it. Right? Back out. Go build yourself a sock account with a name on there that you've never used. Right? We want you comfortable. Jesse Brown, good to see you, man. Honestly, an absolute pleasure to have you here, bud. Stanford Prison Experiment, 2 weeks long, apparently. I have been educated. This is why you have smarter people than you who watch your show, so that they can rip you off a quick, and people smarter than you is always a good thing. If you're the smartest person in the room, you're probably in the wrong room, right? But as far as the 5 goes, people, we want connection. Sorry. I was reading this. Apparently, someone's now wife called off the program, and the man still refers to that wife as his hero. When you allow somebody to take that kind of control, and very often, Leisure, good to see you, brother. Very often that happens when you're in a one-on-one situation. And it's one of the reasons that people complain about 12-step programs, right? It is very, very personal. And for a lot of people, it takes a while to be able to say, I'm a heroin addict. For a lot of people, it takes a while to be able to say, I'm an alcoholic, and not feel like there's a stigma attached to that. If I said, you know what, my name is Tommy, and I have lupus, nobody here would go, what a loser, right? Guy's got lupus. No one would ever say, that idiot's an alcoholic. You'd hear that one, right? That idiot has lupus. No. We look at people with addiction through a completely different lens. And I got news for you. Having run the Lifeboat for 2 years, drug addicts look at other people in addiction the same way that normies do all the time. In fact, the biggest beef that I have with the Lifeboat is the number of people who will send me an email and say, I know so-and-so's getting high. My response always, I just want to write back, who cares? If somebody wants to come here and lie to the crew that they're sober, God bless them, right? If you're a believer, say a prayer for them. I was that guy. I used to be that guy. For a long time, I would have been the guy that went to a meeting and lied about it. I'm more astounded by the number of people who come here and say, hey, you know what? I relapsed last night. Nobody in the world knows they did it. There's no way to catch them. There's no way to know anything. We can't smell it on them. We can't see it. We can't hear them slurring. But they come here and say, I relapsed last night. You know what that is, people? That's proof that this experiment of ours that we call the Lifeboat works. People feel enough about the other people that they associate with here that they wouldn't be comfortable being dishonest with them. Well, that's a hell of a start, isn't it? Well, then maybe put a little bit of faith into where I'm taking this thing. Please. I know that if you've been on the boat as long as the captain has been on the boat, that it's frightening when you see a couple of hundred people come over the rail. But the truth of the matter is, the vast majority of them aren't going to stay over the rail. I promise you, it'd be really cool if they did, but that's not the way it works. And a bunch of people who are going to hit subscribe, it's probably going to be all they ever do here is hit subscribe. That's the nature of YouTube. We know that. But every single time there's a growth, the people who came on board will have come from something other than the lifeboat. Is this a concept that everybody understands? The people won't be lifeboaters. They will be SPTV, right? Or if I'm on if they bring me in as an expert for something else, they're going to be a crew that all know each other and associate behind a completely different subject matter. So unless I'm an ignoramus, I'm going to cater to the new crew to a degree so that we kind of ease people into the lifeboat. That's the idea, right? So if you say, why in the name of God is Tommy doing another video? Here's the two reasons that Tommy's doing another video about Danny Masterson or about that trial or anything else. Number one, it benefits the boat in a big way. Number two, the people that are here want to feel like we are talking to them, right? Like that they're part of this, that we don't just cater to the people who got there on day one, right? You follow me? That's kind of a big deal too. So if I get 100 emails from people that say, can you do a couple of more shows about prison? It is, right? For better or worse. If I live to 100, right? I'm going to have spent 10% of my time on this planet incarcerated. If it bums you out hearing about it, on the bright side, I'm only going to be doing one show a week on prisons, but I am going to be doing one show every single week where I do Q&A on prisons. Why? Because the vast majority of you are fascinated by it. Not all of you, but I'm going to try to keep the vast majority of people happy because that is my job. It really is. It's to try to keep this thing sailing and everybody feeling like we're getting along while we grow. That's my job. And yeah, I want every single one of you to get sober, but I'm not going to pull the e-brake on the forward momentum of the boat for anybody. I'm sorry, but it doesn't change. You guys come here every day. You hang out in the comment section. You get to know one another, whether I'm talking about prison or whether I'm talking about anything else, you can still be in that comment section and you can still be talking to people. Turn the volume down. Turn the volume down. Say hi to your friends. If the subject matter is bumming you out, turn down the volume. You just won't have to listen to me. Oh, wait. Degraded Daughters of Dianetics says, you were right. 3 days. Sorry for questioning you. Strongly objected. Saw the prisoners being abused by the guards. She said, it's terrible what you were doing to these boys. And it was. But it's a great experiment about what happens when you put somebody in total control. You understand that the idea behind the 5 is that I won't be in total control, right? There's a lot of people here who saw what happens when one person gets in total control of a group of people that are all trying for the same thing, right? Cults fire up that way. I'm not looking to influence people. I want you all to start talking to one another. That's what I want you to do. Because when addicts start talking to other people in recovery, they heal. I didn't come up with this. It's the gold friggin' standard for how you save people with our disease. You understand? So what we want you to do is we want you to start making contact with people on the boat. Because if all you're doing is coming and listening to me, that's cool. I love it. It gets me a view. If that's all I was looking for, I could just shut up and keep doing this. But I really do want everybody here to get the most out of this that you possibly can. And you don't do that by coming here and just listening to me. You do that by making acquaintances and friends with people in this group. And everybody that has done so has loved it. Are they going to have all the answers? I don't. And I sit in the friggin' captain's chair. I don't have all the answers. There are people who are going to listen to me right now who goes, yeah, he does, man. I was on the phone with him. No, I don't. You might have been on the phone with me, but I promise you what happened is you talked for 30 minutes and I listened to you. And then at some point you said something like, wow, Tommy, you really fixed that. I don't fix anything. I really don't. I I can talk for an hour twice a day, and it gives you time to talk to one another, share stories, right? Find out who gels well together, and then put together a sobriety team, right? This is your sobriety family. It's not a cliche. We say on the boat all the time, they say you can't choose your family. Of course you can, right? Find some brothers and sisters, choose them wisely, right? But I've got brothers and sisters on this boat. I've got people that are very hugely a part of my life, and we don't agree on everything, but they're a huge part of my life. The WoW file says, I jumped on the boat because addiction and mental illness parallel and often correlate. I'm on the mental illness side, and one of the videos here made me want to heal. I love that. That is one of the coolest comments ever. How about one of the videos here made me want to heal? That's good stuff. And you know what? That video that made him want to heal, or her want to heal, I don't know, probably bored the snot out of about 50 or 60 people who just walked away. I'm not going to be able to please everybody all the time, but I'm going to go for the numbers. If, pleasing 6 people is not as important as pleasing 100. You understand that? There's no other way that I can do that and sit in this chair, right? There's no other way. All I can do is try to make sure that the most number of people that I possibly can are happy. And at the same time, try to make sure that that's not at the expense of anyone else. If you feel I'm coming up short on that, then send me an email and tell me how. Don't talk about it amongst yourselves. Don't decide that Tommy's worthless. Send me an email and tell me where you think I am off the rails so that I can tell you why this is my plan and this is my approach. But make no mistake, I'm going to try to build this thing as big as I freaking can. Oh, yeah. I am not going to stop trying to build this thing until I can't speak anymore. Because there are people out there right now who need to hear this. There are people out there right now who, this is the scariest thing in the world to me, people. I spent 3 decades continuing to get high because I didn't know that you could get off of the stuff without having to go into full-blown withdrawal. If somebody had showed up in the beginning and said to me, you don't have to get sick to get off that crap, I might have gotten sober 3 decades sooner. And it would be really interesting to see where I would be as a human being if I had gotten sober 30 years earlier, right? That would have been heavy. So hopefully we're all on the same page in terms of where I'm trying to take this thing, right? And for the most part, people say things like, this boat really ought to be bigger. I can't believe it's not bigger. Well, it's getting bigger, right? Get fired up. Do me a favor. If somebody is in the comment section and they say something like, I'm hurting, and all of you aren't descending on them, well, then that's your job you're dropping the ball on, right? For real. You all send me messages and say, you know what? When I got to the Lifeboat, everybody just told me, welcome and talk to me. Okay, well, then do it to other people. Pay it forward. It was done to you. It's difficult to read all the comments, especially at the speed they go with now. But I don't want to read comments when somebody says, hi, I'm new here, and people don't say hello to them. It's what made this boat famous. It's what made this boat cool. Continue to take care of one another. When somebody steps foot onto the boat, please welcome them here, right? Don't change what we were, right? Because I decided to talk about Danny Masterson and the Church of Scientology. And I'll tell you something, that stupid church started calling people and asking them stupid questions and researching me. And I'll tell you something right now. What they should do is just shut up and hope I go away. And they've messed with friends of mine now, right? I made friends with people who are in the SBTV community, and I'm watching them get messed with. And I'll tell you something, man. Maybe it's from my past or whatever, but I don't like seeing my friends messed with. And there haven't been many times in my life where I've watched friends mess with and not done something about it. So if it means continuing to piss off that, ridiculous organization of people who traffic children, well, then we'll just keep messing with them. But I promise you, it's not going to take over the boat. But I'm going to do a prison show once a week. And if if it's worth firing a shot at Scientology, then I'm going to do that too. All right. But we're never not going to be the Lifeboat. We're never not going to be exactly what the hell we're doing right here. And I'm hoping this is making sense to everybody. Nita says, hello, Tommy. I appreciated your discussion on Aaron's channel. You say, choose wisely. But what if that is my problem? I seem incapable of doing that. You're not incapable of doing that. You're not. The fact that you realize that you feel incapable of doing that is a good sign. If you're under the influence of anything, or it doesn't have to be drugs, it doesn't have to be anything. If you are living a life and you're not getting done what you want in life, if you're coming up short, I don't care whether you're an addict or not. The things that are causing it are all cured by the exact same method. You will not find a billionaire on planet Earth that does not journal twice a day. So why would you not do it? If the most successful people on this planet all journal twice a day, why wouldn't you do it? I'll tell you something. If you don't think you getting off dope is more important than however much money Elon Musk is going to make this year, you're on the wrong channel. Feel me? You're on the wrong channel. Because you getting off dope is the most important thing in the entire world. Plain and simple. There's nothing more important. Not your family, not your relationship with God. Because if you don't get off dope, you're not going to have a relationship with God, and you're not going to have a family. Trust me. 30 years of doing this stuff. So what do? Well, you start journaling twice a day. And you know what the journal does to you? It talks to you. I swear to God it does. You got to give it the shot. You actually have to put the effort in. But if you start journaling twice a day and it becomes the backbone of what you do, if you're uncomfortable and when you're not doing it, you're going to change. You're going to become successful in ways that you have not been successful before. You will find out things like, when I journal, I tend to write down what I want to get out of life. Do you know how many people have never made a list of what they want to do in the next 2 years? Well, I'll tell you something. If you don't make a list of what you want to do in the next couple of years, don't be shocked if in the next couple of years, you're exactly where you freaking are today. Is this a simple concept? Right? Maybe you should think about where you want to be in a couple of years. Drug addicts don't do that. You got news for that, right? Everybody make sense? Drug addicts don't sit down with a piece of paper and make a list of where they want to be in 2 years, because the only thing a drug addict knows is that they need a bag of dope, right? They need the next drink. Wow, that's a great comment. The Great Daughters of Dianetics says, we appreciate you speaking up for us at SPTV. Tommy, thank you for that. Really heartwarming. You have something special here. Resilience is celebrated on the Lifeboat. So incredibly necessary. Thank you, Vanessa. And you know what? Vanessa's a friend. It's one of the people that they like messing with. It's not fun watching people that get systematically tortured, right? By air quotes, a church. It's not a church, people. That's a far freaking cry from a church. But I promise you, if you mess with somebody, there's only a couple of things you can do. You can walk away. I'm not much of a guy that walks away. You know what I mean? I'm not. It's not something I'm big on. The walking away thing sucks. We're going to be talking about a couple of things in the next couple of days. There are some people right now on the Lifeboat that could use some help. We have had a policy from the very first day that we started the Lifeboat that we don't do GoFundMe pages anywhere. And it's the most painful thing in the world for me, because I would like to do nothing but GoFundMe pages. If I had my druthers, that's what we would do, because there are so many generous people on the Lifeboat that could take care of people. But unfortunately, we've found that the people on the boat have huge hearts. You see it, right? You see it in super chats and you see it in donations. And this is a group of people with huge hearts. And when you find a group of people that all have huge hearts, well, then you have a target on you that is massive. And people on this boat have been ripped off. And we have sadly seen the worst in people, and the Lifeboat, because it brings out the best in people, is a target. And for that reason, places like the Facebook group page, we have always not allowed for any of that. Now, that's painful when I know that the person that's trying to do the GoFundMe is completely 100% legit. When I know that they so badly need money and that this is a great cause and that people would like to get behind it, that's fantastic. Sadly, it becomes a 40-hour-a-week full-time job. And if you say, you know what, Alan Ballantyne ain't lying to me. If there's a person on this planet that I would absolutely right now bet my future on the fact that they're never going to tell me a lie, it would be Alan Ballantyne. But if Alan needed to put up a GoFundMe and I did it, right? What am I saying to every other person that wants to put one up? Well, I know him well enough so that it becomes almost an impossibility. However, this is something that we're going to need to have to put some thinking caps on. And I'm talking to some people right now about it because I do want to be able to reach out and help people like that. I do. And I think that a day is going to come. If I can build this damn boat big enough, be able to do some things that are far greater than anything that anyone here ever thought about in terms of helping people. But we're not going to do it with 9,000 people. We're not. But if I get this puppy to 500,000, then all of a sudden the amount of money that this boat generates allows us to do things with the money that will be incredible. And if you don't have faith, if you think that what that will allow me to do is buy a Ferrari, well, then maybe you should find someone you can put faith in. But if you don't think that I'm looking to get into a Ferrari, then let's just keep doing what we're doing and keep building this channel. And by building this channel, I don't just mean getting a bunch of people that hit subscribe. I mean finding individuals who are going to link up with people, and there are going to be relationships built of individuals who say, you can call me, and I'm not going to say, why don't you just go get high? If you call me, I'm going to ask you questions like, why are you doing this? Your life is so much better since you stopped using. Why would you consider going and using now? Tell me about what's going on. Todd, that's awesome. Todd says, what I was always told, Tommy, nobody in life is successful unless they take baby steps. If you don't have a goal, you will never go anywhere in this life, no matter what it is my commanding officer said. If you don't have a goal, you're screwed. For real. And you say, well, making goals, I'm at the same job. I'm going to be at the same job in 10 years. What am I making goals for? Everything, a vacation, make a goal, right? What do you want in life? What are you willing to do to get it? Those are the two questions that build empires. You understand? And I don't care if you're 50. I don't care if you're 60. We have reached a point in our world, probably for the first time, where we have an opportunity to take this little device and reach people, right? I can come here and I can talk, and individuals will listen to what I have to say. That's an amazing thing to have 85 people here that are listening to a guy talk about sobriety at 5:00 at night. And we do this twice a day. That's incredible. But I hope everybody's just as happy when that number reads 1,000 in the live chat, and we had a taste, didn't we? We did one coming out of that court with 1,500 on it. I want 1,500 people on a live feed that are there for a sobriety meeting. I want 1,500 people on a live feed that are there just to try to help other people and themselves stay sober. Thank you, Anik. I did not see that. The question is, how do you approach an addicted family member who doesn't think they have a problem? I would say that for me, right, if I'm approaching somebody that I care about, it is going to vary greatly on what the substance is. I'll tell you why. If somebody is doing cocaine every day, it is very, very easy to talk to somebody and say, what do you mean you do not have a drug problem? You buy an illegal chemical from a drug dealer and you do it every single day, you have a drug problem, right? This is an easy concept. Where we see this really rearing its head is when we start dealing with substances that are legal. So if this individual's problem is that they're, smoking a half an ounce of weed a day, or they're drinking, and that's their substance of choice. Now we're into the two gray areas, because it is such an accepted part of our society that you get people who say, look, I don't have a drinking problem. Yeah, I drink 5 beers every day when I come home from work, but I don't have a problem. That gets a little bit more difficult. And my approach with people like that is usually this. I say to them, you don't have a problem, correct? And when they do no, I really don't, you say, fantastic. It shouldn't be hard to give me 4 days, right? You care about me. I'm your friend, right? I love you. That's why I'm here. And this isn't comfortable for me. It's not. I don't want to do this. Last thing in the world I want to do is have this conversation with everybody. And I run the friggin' Lifeboat. Obviously, nobody wants to have this conversation, but I care about you, which is why I'm doing it, right? You think you could go 4 days without it? You think you could go 5? Because if you can't go 5 days without your substance of choice, then there's a problem. And it should be real obvious to the people who have that problem that they have it. I'll tell you my other experience, though. I'll tell you my other experience. After 2 years of doing this on the YouTube platform and a year of doing meetings in real life in prison with people who a great many of them were getting high every day. I honestly don't think I've come across more than 1 or 2 people who are in full-blown denial about their addiction. They will say to you, I don't have a problem, but they know they have a problem. And when I talk to people and we can get the BS out of the way and we start to really have a conversation, I'll go, you don't think you have a problem? And nobody ever says. Seriously. I mean, 1 in 100 might say to me, no, I really don't think I have a problem. I mean, you'll have people that downplay it. You'll have people that go, yeah, I know it's maybe a little bit out of control. And if there is that head nod of acknowledgement in any kind, if they say, yeah, what I'm doing is a little bit, you say, no, man, come on, you know better. You know better. You know it's more than a little bit of a problem. And again, if it's something that's legal, very often for people, one of the things, and this is not my opinion, this is something that's been written down, but one of the things that you hear time and time again is that very often the amount of money that people spend on a habit is the thing that ends up being that sort of straw that breaks the camel's back, right? So if you could say to the person that you love and you say to them, so you drink 6 beers a day, right? You drink 6 beers a day. What is that? $5? It's $5 a day, right? $35, 70, 140. You start doing the math. It's a lot of money. And in the economy that we're in, very often it gets people thinking, right? But if the person really truthfully doesn't believe that they have a problem, that's a rarity. That's a rarity. Deep down, people know, Yeah, sounds fun, John. Okay. So are we all on the same page, people? Do you understand where I'm going with this channel? Because I'll tell you something right now. If the Danny Masterson thing bums you out, I'm hunting the next one. You understand? I'm looking for the next concentric circle. In a perfect world, I would be the prison expert on 70 people's channels, and I would continue to do it. I would love to get to the point where all I do is try to build this thing and I got to stick other people in the seat to do this, right? I would really like to get to the point where this thing becomes what it should be, right? Which is a movement. The vast majority of you here are of the belief that the 12-step program doesn't work for you. Do you have any idea the percentage of people in addiction who say 12 steps don't work for me? If you take that off the table, how are you getting sober? For real. Where are you going to go where somebody says, well, here's a plan other than that? Nobody says that. I mean, the accepted standard is that you're going to do a 12-step program. It didn't work for me. And I went to a bunch of them, right? At first I thought, you know what, man, I keep getting high at NA meetings. You know what, A-name? This comes up a lot. This comes up a lot. It could be the bald head. He had the little patches on the side, though. A-name says, Lifeboat. I thought you were Captain Steubing, and this was the Love Boat. Damn it. Boy, if I could get away with using their theme song, I would love to. Ooh, Kathy, don't tempt me. Don't tempt me. I couldn't think of anything more fun than hunting down that garden gnome. My best friend and I were out doing some thrift storing. What do you guys call it again? Op shops. In Australia, thrift stores are called op shops. Well, what I do for a living is hunt down watches, right? So I spend a lot of time in op shops. And we were out looking at watches. I picked up a beautiful one I'm doing a restoration on and got it for nothing. It was awesome. But while we were out there and while we were walking around checking out the all of the stuff at this, hold on one second. Jesse Brown, I'm sorry, people, remind me what I was saying. That's funny. Everyone is worthy of love and acceptance, and it warms my heart that this crew has grown so much, yet it is still the same loving, caring group of people, just expanded. Sorry if I missed comments. Jesse, man, another member of the boat in good standing. Jesse has been around for years, literally for years. And we're glad to have you here, Jesse. And you know what, Jesse, how much do you and I agree on? Huh? Jesse and I don't agree on anything except for the fact that being an addict is tough and that it takes help from a lot of people if you're going to get sober. I mean, politically, we don't come down on the same side of things, but and religiously and everything else. And it's not a problem. Our friendship is solid. What we rally around, people, what we rally around is the concept, right? That should keep a YouTube channel together, right? The rallying point. So hopefully, I know there's a good chunk of you that are going to be very, very happy about the fact that I'm going to be doing a prison show a week. I don't think it's going to bum out too many of you. For those that don't want to see it, I promise you it's going to be one a week, but I'm going to do one a week because people like it and we get a lot of views on it, and it gives people an opportunity to hear what we do at the Lifeboat. And when I do go back and watch any prison show I do, and trust me, people, by design, I'm doing everything I can to talk about sobriety, to talk about how the boat works, to talk about everything that we want to get across so that, yeah, we bring them in the door talking about one thing and then we bring in the boat. That's the idea. I tripped over Danny Masterson, fell down a Scientology rabbit hole and landed in the Lifeboat. We're glad that you did, Lady J. We are really glad that you did. And that, people, is how this works. Awakened by the Looking Glass Reflection says, oh my, wow, the merch store is awesome. So the merch store has, I think, 4 things up or something like that. There's about 4 or 5 more that are going up tomorrow. We actually have a lot of designs. So the merch store is up and running. And this, in the next 3 days, www.thelifeboat.live. Get that? www.thelifeboat.live will also be going on. Big shout out to Spanx Calhoun and all that he's done to make all this happen. He's been working diligently behind the scenes. So big shout out to my boy. Been very, very cool. So yeah, there is merch out there.
I'll put a link in there.
We're bringing everything together. So that,
I already put the link in there.
Nice. Yeah, we got the link up there for merch. So yeah, very, very cool. So I'm not trying to be a jerk, people. I'm really not. I know that my fuse is not the longest fuse in North America, right? Been very open about this. I struggle with it, and it's one of the things that I disappoint myself on the most. I'm not the guy that's going to hit somebody, right? Unless they really got it coming. I'm not going to go off the handle and throw a punch, but I could go off the handle and punch a wall, right? Like that kind of stupid stuff is something that I don't do well with. However, been working very hard on that. Tommy, how do you handle when someone you approach with the talk and they say, but out or because of our past, we can't question them? Oh, no, I love that. Are you kidding, Diana? That's I absolutely love this because I get it constantly. People will say to me, you of all people, how could you? I'd say, me of all people, do you have any idea what I've seen? Honestly, if anything, this gives us more of a platform and more of a place of authority. You know, I'm sorry, you know, we don't curse on the boat, but, you know, don't BS me is one of my absolute favorite expressions when I get a chance to talk to people for the first time. You know what? Don't bring it here, man. For real. I've told more lies than you have, I promise. Don't bring that stuff to me, right? I stopped lying. You need to. It's a really, really bad world when you can't stop lying, and you can't stop lying if you're on dope, right? But when I talk to somebody first time, don't BS me with any of it. You know, how much are you using? All that. You know, you're going to find that people are looking. That means nothing to them. The fact that you have a past means nothing to them. You understand? This is a ploy, and they don't care what they say. They just want the conversation to end, right? They want that to stop. It's uncomfortable. They know they're an addict. And now they know they're getting called on it, right? They want this conversation to stop. But I assure you, I wouldn't let anybody get away with that. If they said to me, look, with your past, I'd say to them, my past's got nothing to do with this. And you know that. The reason you're bringing that up is because you want this conversation to end. I care about you too much for this conversation to end. You can walk away from here today and never talk to me again. You absolutely have that prerogative. And it'll break my heart because I care about you. But I care about you way too much to not say what needs to be said. Right now, your life is out of control. You're a drug addict. How do I know that? Well, you covered that, didn't you? Right? Because of my past, I'm probably somebody that has a pretty good idea of what's going on. And you are addicted to drugs. It's going to destroy your life. I'm here for you. right? It's a huge thing to try to let people know, because very often, even with the best of intentions, we come off as judgmental, and we come off that what we're doing is not trying to help, but what we're trying to do is judge, right? We're looking down our snout. You're a drug addict, right? You really have got to come across and let people know that, you know why I'm here? I'm here because I don't think you can do this alone. And I'm not going to make you feel like you're a loser for this. You're not. You have a disease. But I'm here for you. And I understand that it's a disease. And I understand that the things that you're doing to your family and the things that you're doing to your life and your health, you don't want this. Right? You know you don't want it. I know you don't want it. Everybody involved knows you have absolutely no desire to continue living this life. The good news, right? If it's booze, the good news is in about 8 days, your brain is going to start getting back into whack. And by 14 days, the brain chemistry is going to start leveling out. If it's a different drug, the numbers become different. But every time there's good news, because we get a thought in our head as addicts. When someone says, hey, I think you got a problem, we don't think, I'm going to have to go through about 4 or 5 really terrible days to make this stop. We think, for the rest of my time on this planet, I can never have fun, because fun means one of these puppies in my hand, right? Fun is booze. Fun is drugs. We will absolutely convince ourselves that we're not capable of having fun. We've been so uncomfortable in our own skin for so long that we have figured out a way that we can buy fun or buy happiness or buy peace or buy that momentary respite from feeling uncomfortable in your own skin. But we buy it by the gram, right? Or we buy it by the liter, or we buy it by the pint. You can't buy happiness. I promise you, you can't. And you sure as crap can't buy it by the gram. Every single time that we need to approach somebody for the talk, we're going up against the fact that we're not talking to them. We're talking to cocaine. We're talking to methamphetamine. We're talking to the most base part of every addict, that part that's terrified of living in a life that we can't buy a break from that feeling. We don't get high because we like to get high. I promise you, that's the fallacy of addiction. The drugs are a symptom of a larger problem, and it's not a problem that you can figure out while you're still getting high, right? There's nobody out there going, well, the reason I'm getting high is not something I've figured out, so I'm just going to buy a half a pound of heroin and continue to shoot it until I figure out exactly. It doesn't work like that. You're absolutely going to have to sober up. And if you do not have a journal that you're writing in, I'll still be here. You know what I mean? I'll be here a month from now. I'll be telling you the same crap, but I'll be here in a month. So will everybody else on the boat. And we're not going to say to you, what did I tell you? We're not those people. We see people all the time that come on here and they get sober and they're fired up and they're loving life, and then they disappear. Why? Well, because 8 out of 10 people disappear, right? 80% fail. And those are good numbers. Those are averages. If we start talking by drug, it's closer to 93, 98 on some drugs of people that just aren't going to make it. The Lifeboat, we're out for the percentage that's going to. We're out for the percentage of people who can get clean. And our job is to let them know that we care and to let them know it's possible. The reason group therapy works is because they look at individuals like, look at this loser. This guy robbed how many banks? If this dude can get sober, anybody can get sober, right? If Tommy can do this, anybody can do this. This is the appeal of this kind of meeting, right? Is that this gives you an opportunity to look at somebody and say, they found their way out of the darkest forest in the world. When you find your way out of really dark forests, you leave footprints, right? And what's better is so many of the people who get sober will never forget what the inside of that forest felt like. Cold, frightening, alone. And they tend to walk back in looking for people. So I don't give a crap if you're good at this. You just need to be somebody who's willing to walk back in, because you wouldn't want to leave somebody alone. That's the perfect candidate for a 5. I've never once since starting this thing had somebody come to me and say, do you know I called so-and-so because I felt like using and they talked me into getting high? I haven't heard that phone call yet. It's never happened. I've heard people say, I talked to so-and-so and it was a miracle. And I thought to myself, so-and-so is a dolt. How did that happen? I'm not even being funny, people. I'm not trying to be mean or anything else. But I've had situations where I thought to myself, that person talked someone out of I learned really early on, it doesn't have to be anything other than caring. Do you understand? The only thing you got to display is caring. If you're not that person, turn down anybody that asks you to be in their 5. Huh? How's that? Sorry, I already have my 5. You don't have to be rude. I can't work with anybody else. I already have my 5. Whatever you got to say. But the vast majority of you are going to be friggin' excellent at it. Now, if you're looking for your 5, these are not people you call 7 times a day. That's not what the 5's for. It's a ripcord people. It's the panic alert. It's the, I can't figure this out. It's not going to work. I better talk to somebody or I'm probably going to go buy dope. When people begin to plug in, you know what happens? They start talking to individuals and they start to realize, you know what? I'm in relapse. Yeah, I haven't gotten high, but I'm in relapse. And then you start having those conversations with people who understand the relapse concept and they start saying really just simple questions like, when did you start noticing that things were different? You didn't wake up this morning thinking, I want to get high. And that's the first time you've thought about it. You've been thinking about glorifying it, or you thought about that time that you went to that Grateful Dead concert. And man, it was so fun. We did this, this, and this. And all of a sudden, you're not as freaked out about the high you used to have. Now the feelings are maybe a little bit more romanticizing, right? Oh, those were fun buzzes. And I'll tell you something, man. Back then, I really had my life together. It wasn't until I started doing this that it really, when you start talking to people and you're in that panic, very often you will find out where it jumped the rails, which gives you a really legit opportunity to get it back on the rails. Am I making sense, everybody? Huh? Am I making sense? Are you hearing what I have to say? We got anybody that wants to yell at me because I want a silver play button? Because I got news for you. I want a gold play button. How's that? And I don't want it so that I can tell you I'm cool and I'm a YouTuber. And I don't want it so that I can brag about the number of subscribers or views. It's not 120,000 views. It's 120,000 people that stop by a drug channel, right? That stop by a channel that only talks about rehab and living your best life. That's my job. You understand? My job is to make sure as many people walk across this thing as I possibly can make happen before I die. That's my gig. I'm going to keep doing it. Your job is to welcome everybody that steps onto this boat. If you see a name you have not seen, your job is to welcome those people and tell them that they can get sober. Right? It takes a miracle to get sober. It takes a miracle to get sober. And those miracles are a dime a friggin' dozen. I promise you. I'm not saying it doesn't take a miracle because it does. But they're a dime a dozen. I see them every single day. NA worked for me for about 5 years and then it didn't. Amy, I'm glad it worked for you for 5 years. That's fantastic. It worked for me for about 5 weeks. And then I relapsed in the parking lot. You know, that's how that worked out. So 12 steps didn't work for me. And nothing did until I met Q. So I'm bringing Q's message to the world because he's got his hands full at the moment. Doesn't have time. Lady Fiona Crispin, another Aussie that's done a tremendous amount for the Lifeboat. Lady Crispin, good to see you. The official Lifeboat participation trophy for all that you have done for the boat. People, all of those, the organizing of the channel and the layout and all of that was all Fiona. Lady Crispin's done an amazing amount for the boat and for the people on it. So good to see you, hon. Really glad that you're here. It's like a family reunion here today. It really is. All right, everyone. We are at the top of the hour. Alan and I went to Los Angeles, right? It was, 20 hours or something over 2 days that we drove. And, we hung out there and had a really good time. Met some very, very cool people. Went and saw my daughter. Had a really good time. However, when we were gone, Squirrel slept all day. Right? All day. And now the cat is on nocturnal schedule. So Squirrel is sound asleep now. She's going to wake up and begin meowing at about 10, right around the time we go to bed. So the cat will be back in the basket. It's going to require me completely retraining her nocturnal schedule and getting her back on a normal time. Between now and then, I'm going to have to grab the cat occasionally and wave her around so you guys can see her. But at the moment, she's off being Satan Kitty.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. Well.
Alan will now back up what I've said from the word go. This cat talks more than any cat in the world. You guys think she's quiet? She's not. It's only because you see her in the basket. That cat never stops meowing. Don't get me wrong. I love her. All right, people, 5 a.m. tomorrow morning, the Lifeboat. Live on the 5s. I'm Captain Tommy. See you then.